Hey guys, TCB here. Do you want to know how we took $200,000 and turned it into $4.8 million? We're talking about it this week in Agency Pain Points. All right, we're talking about increasing agency revenue. And really we do that internally. We all know, right, with the slogan land and expand. Get an account in, through data-driven results, we grow it to the moon, right? It just continues to grow. It's really through three key elements, right? The first being providing that client with unique critical data that they may not have had access to, whether it be competitor data, whether it be market data, whether it be any data that really they don't have access to, that we can deploy a digital campaign, generate data, aggregate data, and really create the baseline for growth.
The second way that we like to do that is to provide account ROI over the course of our relationship. If we can prove that what they're doing with us is working, the ad spend is working, that sets the baseline of trust, credibility, a nice foundation for us to really expand that, to grow that, because they know that we're already proving results. They can trust us to continue to improve those.
And the third really is really paint a vision of the future for the account. So if we know that we're driving results at this particular level in this market, as they look to expand into different facilities or different markets, that baseline and that data-driven results of the entirety of the account is really going to take the account to the next level, right? Because we're able to forecast and show that forward-thinking data-driven results, which will really in turn drive the results down the road.
So why don't we kick off talking about a cancer center that we work for regionally in the Tennessee area. I know that you guys really kind of were there from day one with this account.
Yeah, I mean, we started with the cancer center in early 2017, and one of the things that we did, and really using that data is, when they first came on, they told us the number of leads that they wanted, and then basically worked back from that number of leads to really help them reach that goal. So, when we were landing and expanding, and they went from one cancer center to another cancer center, and to another market, and then down into a third market, it wasn't necessarily like we were, basically coming up with a new concept or like asking for more money. We were just replicating what worked in the first cancer center, and that was what allowed us to then go into the extra markets. So I think the first step before land and expanding is really like building the foundations to land and expand an account. And what I mean by that is our most successful land and expands have really come from clients that are spending $2,000-$3,000 a month. And to a lot of agencies, like $2,000-$3,000 a month might not seem like a lot of money. But I think like what is really passed down from like the CEO of this company, from the senior leadership team, right down to the analysts on these accounts, is that every dollar matters for every single client. So treat those clients, treat that spend as if it is your own. And I feel like when you like take on that responsibility and you really apply that to your accounts, that builds trust and credibility with your clients. And that is what allows you then to take the account from here, as you said, to the moon. It's not, land and expanding is not about putting your hand in your client's pocket and taking money out. That's not what it's about. No. It's about helping your client realize the opportunity that they have, whether it's on one platform, whether it's on several platforms, and helping them reach their opportunity. I
think you're right. It's uncovering data they don't know, proving the results through ROI on the entire account, and then forecasting and foreshadowing by taking that strategy and deploying it across other markets or facilities. That's really where the land and expand really goes.
And I would just add a fourth point, and it's working your ass off to get there. So I think that treating every dollar like it's your own is the foundation of how the business should run. For a little background on this client that we're working with, it started as a $3,000 programmatic client. We pitched the opportunity to move into paid. We ended up taking on the entire digital marketing for their one location. So this client grew from 3,000 to roughly 30,000. Through the performance that we were able to showcase for this client in their one location, as they expanded to a second, they brought us with them. So over the course of 2 years, this client grew from a $3,000 monthly client to a $90,000 monthly client. And it's the land and expand every step of the way. And the win there isn't that they were spending more money. The win there is that they were driving better results. They offer a great service and being able to really expand that and make sure that people know that there are better options out there for them was really kind of a great experience for them and for us.
I think, like, just to touch on that client too, it's not just like the expertise that we learn within, you know, the client, but also using the expertise in certain verticals and using our knowledge in marketing in general. So I know when we expanded to a new location, it's kind of a different strategy, like a different approach we took, right? Like they have their home base where their name is known, right?
Yep.
And then we move out, and it's like a different messaging, and it's a different, you know, concept that we put out to that market. And I think what we rolled out with is it's a combination of using the data that we know just from that client in general, and then, you know, the insights that we have just from working with so many different verticals.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I think taking that marketing knowledge and the hands-on optimizations we make, but really carrying it through from not just lead to from lead to actually filling beds and filling rooms within that facility is really the key, because we could bring as many people to the doors as possible. But what's happening on the sales process end, right? Having that conversation and being an extension of the team, I think for us has really allowed us to leverage that back-end sales data for our front-end marketing data. And that's really the biggest differentiator, I think, that we've deployed in our land and expand concepts that we've really allowed and seen the most growth with. Is not just the marketing aspect, but really the entirety of the entire account.
100%. I think that comes back to the return on ad spend point that we were talking about. You're not going to grow a client from a $3,000 client to a $90,000 client because of a click-through rate. Like, it just no one gives a shit at that point. Like, that's a good kind of performance barometer early on to prove that you are driving those results. But you have to link it to tangible results for that business. Yep. And when you can prove that when they spend money with you, it's moving the needle for their business, moving the needle for their patients, it makes it real. And that's why it's so important to really make sure that you take it from digital marketing theory, take it from marketing theory to actual return for them. It's the foundation, the baseline that you can expand upon.
Yep. The other key element is really focusing in on when you're talking to a client and they don't have the data or that baseline, or they're either new to digital or they're new to us, or they never had access to the data, or they didn't even know didn't even know that they can have this data. Right? Establishing that data beta campaign out of the gate to understand what their competitors are doing, how the market reacts to their message, how the market acts in really the auction mindset and setup is really going to be is really critical to a land and expand setup, because clients don't know what they don't know. So if we can provide them with the data and showcase and lay it out in a really streamlined, organized way, then we let the marketing aspect of things take it and drive it.
Yep.
You guys want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so we have a large beverage distributor that we work with. So one of the ways that we went about that is we strategically built out, you know, a whole marketing plan, right? We essentially built a brand along, you know, these sort of frontline jobs, these, you know, like a merchandiser, warehouse worker, CDL driver, and really just running a recruitment campaign for them. So, you know, they don't have any data based on this right now. So we bring out a test in 10 markets, and we start driving to the page, and we start finding these certain insights, right? I mean, at least from a programmatic standpoint, you know, just from this data beta alone, we could find out by certain job types, you know, which places we should be targeting. So when we introduce it to the market, we're taking both like a proactive and a reactive approach. So in terms of proactivity, you want to go out and get qualified applicants, right? So they are maybe not necessarily in market for a job, but they are qualified. So maybe they work somewhere else, and we're going to find out in that data beta who is more likely to, you know, join the beverage distributor that we're working with, just based on where they're working currently. So, you know, maybe for a CDL driver, you know, FedEx is performing really well, users that are entering those locations, whereas maybe for a warehouse driver, it's a completely different warehouse, or, you know, a different type of
a competitor.
Exactly, a competitor.
A competitor,
exactly.
and we're going. Those competitors don't even know they're in the market for a new job, but now they know there's an opportunity with this particular company, and we can bring them across.
100%. I think that when you're in a data aggregation phase, creativity is going to be so important as well. So you have to approach it as if anything's possible and really think strategically. With automation just becoming more and more prevalent, just fulfilling campaigns, no one's going to do that themselves. Yep. So people are going to come to agencies, they're going to come to people like us to try and think strategically. So one of the things I loved for this client is that they're looking for frontline workers, and this is at the downfall of Toys R Us. And individually geofencing Toys R Us locations I thought was brilliant, and the impact that we saw from that was pretty significant. No one's coming to the store retail anymore, so all you're dealing with is warehouse workers, drivers that do not have positions coming up long term. So I think that really trying to get outside the box that so many of us kind of live in on the day-to-day is so important to bring that to large clients.
I think just to touch on that, what I would say is the running theme throughout all the biggest, not the biggest, the best land and expand case studies and success stories that we've had is with the clients that we've seen huge improvements and increases in, is that we're more than just running marketing campaigns for them. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? So, we're not just running a PPC campaign and then reporting on it at the end of the month. We're not just running a programmatic and just reporting on it. It's the whole strategy behind it, as you've just said, Rob. So it's a relationship that you had with the point at these companies, developing that strategy and then bringing the entire team together so that we're all focused and rowing towards that strategy. And I feel like so much of that is the relationship that you generate with a client. Again, it all comes back to trust and credibility. Now that they see that we're working our butts off for them and that we're generating results, and then they're more likely to put more money and more resources into their marketing, because not only does it work, but they have a team for them that is crushing it.
The data just supports the relationship.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? If you have data-driven results and you're proving the ROI across the entirety of the account, the relationship just takes it to the next level just by being a great person.
But again, I think it just goes back to what I said at the beginning, what we do such a great job of. Landing and expanding begins at day one. Yeah. So the moment that client comes in is when you should be thinking and looking to land and expand that client. And it's not just about running a great campaign. Obviously, you want a great campaign, but it's about building a relationship and really being there for that person and treating those dollars as if they're your own.
What's some signs of a good land and expand when they come in the door? I know off the top of my head, if I know that it's a good brand with a bad website or a bad setup, we have potential to do a damage and really crush it for them, because we know the potential and their untapped potential, and by just making some tweaks from our knowledge, we could take it to the next level.
I think so. I think multi-location clients have been great examples of land and expand. If you can get a trial with a location, and so we keep talking about data beta, but the data is only really kind of half the story. You have to work your ass off to get really good data. So, going back to that campaign, I know that we evolved to hit 83 markets for 3 different jobs, utilizing 3 different products. All those different products had multiple lines running within those products. At any given time, we could have upwards of 2,300 lines running for this campaign. That is a beast to manage. When a creative comes in, it's going to take 6 hours to swap and make sure that hits every single line. That is a monster to manage. But if you got to put the work in to make sure that the data that you get out is kind of value and to expand upon that. And that strategy, we went from a 10 location data beta to 83 plus, like we just said. I think those big name multi-locations are huge opportunities. If you can just prove it with one, they'll get the others to trust you.
Yeah, I think another big part of it is an engaged client. There are clients, there are market managers, market directors at these companies that they want to grow, they want to crush it, they're enthusiastic, but maybe they don't have the digital know-how to take it to the next level. Again, if there's a client who is heavily engaged and they're open to creating a relationship, that is part of the battle, because then once that relationship has been developed, and then they know that they can come to us with strategic guidance, and whether that's going into other products or increasing their current spend to maximize their opportunity. But I think a really engaged client is super important.
True.
Yeah, and I think also the clients that want to advertise for a bunch of different campaigns, so there's a bunch of different strategies, or they have certain goals, right, that they want to hit. So let's say they come in. I know we had one university out in the Midwest, and they wanted to focus on 20 some different programs that they offered. It's an online university. And I think the strategic guidance that we've all talked about is super important. So just providing that to them. So maybe they have a certain budget that they want to run, but that they're interested in running a lot of programs. So I think there's a lot of room for opportunity there. And then it's our job to kind of provide them that strategic guidance, right? So maybe their budget's a little limited. We're talking about a university online, so it's United States targeting. It's a big map that we want to go after. So it's kind of trying to narrow that focus. I mean, at the time they came to us with 20-some programs, and we worked within their budget. You bring them down to 4, but that they still have the potential to grow, right? It's about proving that concept that we talk about time and time again, right? So, they have the return on ad spend. We're driving the cost per application down, and now they expand to 23 different programs at 10 times the budget. So it's just about providing that guidance, seeing that opportunity in the beginning, providing the value that we have, and then even more guidance, and then you get the results that you want.
And that speaks to an engaged client as well, because if you are going to provide that guidance and you are going to look to expand this client you want them to grow as much as for their reasons as much as you do for your own reasons, but it almost has to be a partnership at that point. So we have to prove results and provide that guidance. So we could have just accepted a fairly large campaign to go across 23 different schools, but we know that chucking $40, $50 a week in some of these areas that's a recipe for a 1-month client that's going to leave because they're not going to see results. So talking to them and saying, let's prove it to you for 4 schools, and then if this works, expand because we're proving results, that goes back to that tying to that return on ad spend. I think from an engaged client, the client has to work with you as much as you want to work with them. You're not going to take someone that commoditizes your product. You're not going to take someone that doesn't want to give you proper access. That you have to be set up for success to land and expand. So if you're having trouble getting pixels on their website, or they're fighting you about cost right off the bat, it's especially in paid media, we're in an auction environment so much that if you're going to fight cost, you're hurting the results that end up coming back to you. So it is so much about working together. And when you find that client that really is willing to accept your guidance, work with you, and then you're willing to put in the work for them, I think that's the foundation that you can build off of to really, what do you say, grow the moon? Yeah.
Take it to the moon. Go to the moon.
I think another thing as well, like what really helps with land and expanding clients is innovation. So I feel like, and I do have an example for this. So like,
Where are you going with this?
no, I feel like
I like it. All right.
no. What I honestly feel is like a lot of agencies, and sometimes a lot of clients, like they get set in their ways and they don't try new things.
True.
They're not trying new platforms, new tactics. An example of that is a plumber and HVAC company out of Louisville. They started with us. They came to us. They did PPC. They've been doing PPC for years, and so, because of competition entering the market, their cost per acquisition were going up. We got them on the local service ads program, and really built a strategy around dominating search within their local market across Google My Business, PPC, local service ads. And what it did over time was it dropped their cost per acquisition, and then allowed them to now open up new locations around Louisville and Lexington, stuff like that. And I think that I don't know if we would have got to that point if we didn't innovate, if we didn't say, guys, let's try something new, let's try something different. And again, if you're not asking why aren't we trying this? Can we try that? For your clients, and you're not pushing them, you've got to take risks. They're not always going to pay off. Some things are going to fall flat. Yeah. But that
when they do pay off, though, they pay off big. So this is the exception to the rule, and we're not promising these results. But the client that Mike's talking about started with us at $500 a month, and we took a risk. We took a shot with a kind of something that was new at the time to them that we were fairly new with as well, but we knew that it had the potential to provide great results. That $500 monthly client is now a $90,000 monthly client. Mm-hmm. That is a significant 180 times growth. To get there would have taken us 15 years of building to what we do in 1 month with them right now. Mm-hmm. And the reason they're growing is because the results are crushing it for them. Yeah. So I know that we talked early on that we've kind of found the sweet spot of clients that are at least proving they can spend a little bit with you. That $2,500 to $4,000 client we've seen as a sweet spot for who could be your next $50,000 client. But if you want to get aggressive and you want to get innovative, $500 accounts are a great way to do it. I mean, if you have them. I know many agencies wouldn't even accept that, but there's potential land and expand accounts at every level. We've just found a sweet spot, but they're everywhere. I think that we talked about identifying what are those accounts that have the potential for land and expand, and it's going above and beyond. So I know that we've talked about a few of these accounts today. Early on in what we were doing for these accounts was almost stupid from it, almost stupid from an agency standpoint. But we felt like they had the ability to grow because they worked with us, we worked with them. They were open to guidance. We were proving results, and we just knew that if we put extra in, we were going to get extra out. I know that we've talked about 4 accounts today, and just obviously we're picking our best examples. This isn't the norm, but this is 4 accounts. We had 4 accounts that were doing $197,000 in annual revenue from when they started with us, that in 2019 attributed for $4.8 million in revenue. Wow. That is gigantic growth. That is gigantic growth that happens. And when you have those targets, when you have those accounts that you think have the ability to grow significantly and are willing to work with you, just the one takeaway I would have is go about it in the strategic way that we've discussed, but work your ass off for this account to just prove it. Because if you prove it, there is no ceiling.
And I think you've just hit the nail on the head. Like every agency that will be watching this, they will probably have 2-3 accounts in their portfolio that they're working on a daily basis that has the potential to go up. It's just realizing that potential and, like you said, working your ass off for your client, man, and treating that money as if it is your own, because you'll reap the benefits.
That's how you increase agency revenue.
Hey, that's the title.
They said it.